want to talk about the moment and sometimes how we get caught up in our minds and our humaning in the moment. And interested in your feedback on
we just want to start by saying that's all about momentum.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to talk about as well, and how we can shift this idea of the moment into our heart. How does our heart play into this and letting go of the mind?
Well, your heart pumps your blood.
Right.
What other thing are you wanting to assign to
Is
it?
the mind just a switchboard then? How does these words like the mind and the heart figure into creation and creating?
Well, your consciousness is mostly processed through your mind. What people usually are implying when they're talking about heart is the emotional factor. But we want you to take a simpler approach to it and just acknowledge that you are a vibrational being in a vibrational universe, and what you think sets your vibrations in motion. And then the emotions that you feel, which you are calling your heart, that's what lets you know what your relationship is with who you really are. Maybe that's why you want to call it heart or love, because who you really are.
How we identify?
Say again?
How we identify, how we self-identify?
Well, maybe, but
how we resonate with our heart?
When you feel good, you are in complete resonance with your source, and you can call that heart if you want to. When you don't feel so good, then you've got yourself crossways of that. That's just a more simple premise and vibrationally accurate too. So now what's your question?
Well, when we have contrast and we get caught up in our mind, that stops the momentum. Everything just stops.
Well, here's the thing. Momentum toward wanted is stopped by thoughts in opposition. Momentum toward unwanted is stopped by thoughts in opposition. Yes? So if you want to feel good and you're thinking thoughts that feel bad, stop it.
So stop thinking?
Well, if you catch it early, you don't stop thinking, you change the thought. In the early days, we call that pivoting. I know what I don't want. What is it that I do want? But if there's enough momentum going, your words just aren't powerful enough. That's why we talk about getting out ahead of it. We've called it pre-paving. When you meditate, you quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. When you stop thought, you stop any negative momentum. You stop resistance. And then your vibration rises. And then when your vibration rises, now you have access to the thoughts that your inner being is thinking. And those thoughts you don't want to stop the momentum of, because those thoughts are all about bringing you home to all of the things that you've been asking for.
Yes, joy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why are we so hell-bent, though, on these negative things?
Because you'd rather be right than feel good, and because you've been trained to believe that struggle has a big payoff, that there's no gain without pain, and because you haven't been as feeling, or as, in your words, heart oriented. You were born that way. You were born knowing that life was supposed to be good for you. You were born knowing that you were good and that source is on your side. You were born knowing that. But then in your humaning, as you faction yourself off into these groups and continue to fight with each other about who's right rather than who feels good, then you lose your place. And there's no way out of that. Have you noticed that you just move from group to group, condemning group to group? Just join a new group and then blame the other groups, and then join another group and blame the other groups, and then just join another group and blame the other groups, and feel terrible through the whole process. Or you could meditate and stop all that thought, because when you're not thinking anything, then there's no resistance. And then you can allow your natural vibration to hook up with what your inner being knows you to be, which is all about who you really are. Not who you were when you were born, but who you have become ever since, the vortex version of you, the true source version of you.
It seems like there are two people in this relationship, like your inner being and then this other.
Well, in the beginning, when we began visiting with our human friends through Esther, most of you just thought you were me. You just thought you were yourself. And so we began explaining to you that there's the source energy you and there's the you, because we wanted you to understand that that source energy of you didn't all come here with you. Humans think I'm dead or alive, I'm physical or non-physical. It's not that way. You are non-physical always and sometimes physical. So once you understand that a part of you is here physical, and that's the part we're always talking about here, and then there's the non-physical part of you. Well, the physical part of you is exploring the contrast and asking for more, and the non-physical part of you is instantaneously becoming the more that you are asking for during every contrasting moment. So your contrast is our gain. Your contrast is our expansion. Your contrast is what puts the eternalness in eternity. Your contrast is such a good thing, but you want your contrast to be a step one, not a step one. You want it to be a step one. And we always do step two. So are you getting at something more here?
No, I just wanted to understand that principle.
Your question in its stubbornness caused us to say really good things. Feeling of satisfaction is the most glorious state of being, because when you are feeling satisfied, you are in that place where your vibration could move in either direction. There's so much control when you feel satisfied. When you feel satisfied, you could easily pick up some thoughts that are less satisfying and get momentum going off in the direction of what you don't want. Or you could find some thoughts that feel more satisfying, and in a very short period of time, since there's no resistance. Can you picture the emotional scale? And on one end of it is true disempowerment, and on the other end of it is true empowerment. On the end that feels terrible, it feels like fear and regret, and on the other end it feels like love and appreciation. Well, right in the middle of that emotional scale is satisfaction. Satisfaction, where you have control. Our favorite control story, we're going to tell you, and then we're going to open this to full discussion, is your car at the top of a hill. San Francisco is a very good image if you've ever been there. Esther was shocked when she made it up to the top of that hill and realized that right down that road was the bay. Oh, took her breath away. She didn't even know how she got up there. And the idea of driving down it was scary. So since she'd had the experience and she knew about that image, it was so vivid in her mind, we said, imagine putting your vehicle at the top of that hill and deciding to give yourself a physics lesson. So take the car out of gear and release the parking brake and get behind it and just nudge it a little bit and see what happens. And then almost as soon as you nudge it and you feel how easily it begins to move, you know what's going to happen because you've had enough experience. You are pretty sure that car is going to end up in the bay. And so you come to your senses because you like this car, or because Hertz wants it back. So you step out in front of it and it bumps up against you and you stop the momentum of it. No big deal. But you wouldn't want to be at the bottom of the hill trying to stop that momentum. So that's where the emotion of satisfaction puts you, right in that same place of control. But if you don't exercise your control because you're oblivious to your emotions, because you've been counting on other people and their approval for how you feel about things, we'll try to get you over that today. Then you might not honor satisfaction and more. You might not care so much about that control, and you might let your thoughts take you to the point of no return until you sleep or get a lobotomy or meditate or something that sort of clears the vibrational slate just a little bit.